Welcome to this Project Aspiro audio feature. Today we'll be talking about living independently with Sophia Spyropoulos, an independent living skills specialist with CNIB. Sophia, what exactly are independent living skills?
Well, independent living skills means to be able to manage your household and personal tasks independently and safely. So if somebody has had a change in vision, so that they have now partial sight or full vision loss, there are techniques and methods that they can learn so that way they can maintain their independence and safety.
Okay, and so what would be some specific examples of independent living skills? Like what kind of topics would they cover?
Right, so they would cover things like food preparation. So if anybody has difficulty using different appliances, anything from the stove, the microwave, ovens, different appliances that they have, the toaster. If they have any difficulty in actual food preparation, whether it's measuring, pouring something to drink, peeling and cutting, then Independent Living Skills Service would provide techniques for that. And generally what we would do is come out to a person's home and have a conversation with them on those. Mm-hmm. On these different tasks and see exactly where their difficulty lies and then kind of set up goals along that. So we can come out as many times as they need to teach them those techniques so that they're safe and they're less frustrated doing those kind of tasks.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so can you describe that process a little bit more in terms of, how you thinking about an individual who's, maybe, and I guess maybe another question would be, is there a big difference between someone who's blind and someone who has partial vision in terms of how you approach this?
Yes, it's a very individual because depending on the eye condition and how that individual is affected by it, we'll try to maximize the use of their vision if they do have a certain degree to help, as well as different kinds of techniques. So for example, organization is very key. Certain things would be common to somebody with partial sight and full vision loss. Organization is one big kind of area that anybody can benefit from, so that if they know they're putting back something in the same spot and something has a spot and other family members follow that as well, then it cuts down on the frustration. They'll know exactly where things are. So if, for example, you open up your cupboard or your drawer and okay, there's where the scissors are, those kind of simple things will cut down on the frustration. So we'll go over those kind of things. Organizing, using contrast is very important for those who are partially sighted. So instead of, let's just say at mealtime, instead of having a white plate on a white table and say you're serving white rice with mashed potatoes and like chicken, there's nothing there. There's no contrast at all. So it's manipulating the environment, and you, especially at your own home, you can do that quite easily. Manipulate your environment so that there's a greater degree of contrast, and that will enable you to use your vision a little bit more to be able to see that. So something as simple as getting different colored placemats, different colored dishes. If you're going to pour something that is dark, like tea or coffee, put it in a white mug. Vice versa, if you're going to pour something light like milk, get a black mug. So basically when it comes to a general approach, organization, using contrast, and lighting are the three areas that we talk about in general. That we try and approach for all the different tasks. You can kind of bring that to each task, making sure you've got enough lighting. What's beneficial is sometimes lamps with like a gooseneck lamp that you can adjust the light specifically on a task as opposed to just general overhead lighting. And controlling glare is very important because many people experiencing vision loss will become very sensitive to the light. So if they have not just sunglasses for outside, but often getting indoor sunglasses as well, or closing the blinds or opening, controlling that kind of thing. So in general, we'll talk about that organization, contrast, the use of lighting to approach different tasks, and then specifically each person, how they're coping with their vision, what tasks are giving them difficulties, then we try to customize what works for them.
Okay, yeah, so you've talked a lot about sort of the environment that they live in, and so what would you then do kind of specifically for people around then sort of, as opposed to setting up their environment, but how they actually do things?
Right.
So what would be some examples like that, or what, and kind of what would you call that?
Right, okay, so for example, labeling is a very big one, right? Being able to identify different food items, let's just say in the fridge, in the cupboard. So there's so many different ways to do that, and that's why it's so good to specifically find a method that is good for an individual. So, for example, if a person's able to read large print, we can make large print labels up. They would use, instead of pen, a felt tip black marker, and they would make labels up for themselves, make reusable ones, hole punch it, have a little elastic around it, put it on a can. And this is where organization comes in as well, right? Because you can label everything, but if you're trying to pull every single can off the shelf in order to read it, it kind of goes hand in hand. So if we put, say, everything, canned vegetables, canned goods, all in one cupboard, and soups in another, that person knows, okay, I go to my left cupboard for the vegetables, pull off my can, read the larger print label. For other individuals, they might not be able to read the large print, so we can do something tactile. Often shampoo bottles and conditioner bottles are the same shape, so if you can't tell them apart, you can just throw an elastic band over the shampoo bottle. You feel the elastic band, that's your shampoo. So sometimes it's, using large print and using contrast. Sometimes it's tactile. And then there's also audio. A really interesting device is called a pen friend, and it actually came from the CNIB, and it's an audio labeling system. So it's shaped like a cigar or a very large pen, and it comes with these kind of stickers. And so what a person would do is, say they pull out a can of corn. They can stick that sticker on there. Usually need some assistance to label everything at the beginning. And so they bring the pen friend over to the sticker and record their own voice and say corn. So the next time they pull that can out with that sticker, they bring the pen friend over to the sticker and they will hear their own voice say corn.
Oh, wow.
So it's a great way not just to label, but also for messages. So it's, as you can see, there's a variety of ways, and that's what it is. It's finding what helps. What will help that person be able to do the task independently.
Yeah, okay, interesting.
And that's just an example of labeling when it comes to things like using the appliances. Because of microwaves, for example, I'll just pick microwaves, it's very, very flat, the panel. There's these little stickers, tactile bumps, kind of bump-ons that we use that we can just put on, let's say, the 2, a 0, and a start. And that way the person doesn't have to struggle to get close to it or get their magnifier and a flashlight, and go through all this to try and see the numbers. They can just feel the bumps and know to push what they need to turn the microwave on. Similar to when you're using the stove or the oven, we use a high mark, almost like a puff paint, basically. And you would put a mark on the dial, and let's say a mark at 350, and it dries hard. And that way the individual would feel the bump on the dial and line it up with the other bump at 350, and they know for sure what temperature they're setting.
Oh, this is like a pen that leaves sort of a
three-dimensional... Like this kind of, fabric paint type. That will dry hard. So there's all those kind of techniques, but there's also safety factors too. How, for example, if somebody's burning themselves using the oven, we would come in and teach them techniques so that they are safer. And those are small things like instead of standing in front of the oven, you're going to stand to the side. And so often we'll show them those techniques, and if they would like to, we can actually follow a recipe or cook something and be there to observe, and also show them those kind of techniques. So the main idea is that they keep their independence and they're safe.
Okay. And so, like on the website, we talk about, on Project Aspiro, we talk about sort of personal management and home management, as well as a bunch of other sort of topics that fall under living independently. The things you've talked about, would you say those are more home management type things versus personal management, or they sort of fall under both categories?
I would think for meal preparation and things like that, you could say it's home management, because we'll speak to things as if you're trying to put your keys into the lock, be able to control your thermostat in the home. Those kind of actual home management, the day-to-day tasks to manage your own home. Okay.
And so what would be some more examples of personal management then?
Personal management would be more in terms of, let's say, telling the time, if you're having difficulty telling the time, being able to identify your clothes, those kind of things, manage your own money.
Mm-hmm.
So if an individual has problems identifying coins or bills, there's different ways in order to do that.
Okay. And can you talk a bit about
Sure,
the process
yeah.
for some of those things, like managing money, let's say, or time?
Right. So for managing money, often what we'll teach is the coins, well, the Canadian coins, often have if you feel the very edge of it, there's different textures.
Okay.
So judging by that and the size, and if somebody can see enough to know let's say that a penny is darker and the loonie is a different color, those kind of things. So it's using those kind of factors, but mainly the size of the coins and the feel of them. And for bills, if an individual is having a hard time seeing the 5, the 10, the 20, there's a banknote reader they can get, a little device that you can slide the bill in, and it will announce to you the denomination of the bill, whether it's 5, 10, 20. So first to be able to identify your money and then be able to organize it. So for, again, organization's always coming in because if you can identify that's a $5 and a $10 bill, but once you put it in your wallet, it can get confusing as to which bill is which again. So what we often do is identify the 5 and 10, and then let's say in your wallet, organize it in such a way that the $5 bill is flat, your $10 bill is folded, your 20 is folded a different way.
Okay.
Or sometimes we'll get a wallet. A person might feel more comfortable not judging it based on folds, but in different pockets, for example, little compartments. But that's the idea, is that, again, that organization comes in.
Okay.
So that's just specifically in that area. For telling the time, it's finding a device that enables them to tell the time, whether it's talking watches, where you push a button, it tells you the time, talking clocks, there's talking keychains, different things like that.
Okay. And could you talk a little bit about, so these are kind of, fundamental living skills in order to be independent. Could you talk a little bit about what does that mean in terms of how that translates into preparing for your career?
Right, yes. Well, often if a person's had a change in vision, day-to-day tasks can become very, very frustrating. If they wake up in the morning and you can't get the toothpaste on the toothbrush, if you go to the microwave and you're struggling to use that and you're struggling to pour something to drink, that kind of frustration can build and can often make you feel like not reaching for other kinds of goals that you feel. So it inhibits you. But if you have the techniques to manage the kind of basics, then it will give you confidence, and in that way, that's under control, that's being managed, right? Then in that way, you can reach out and say, okay, what else would I'd like to maybe volunteer, or now I'd like to start a career, if you're going to be switching, or things like that, And some of these skills are transferable, right? So if you use a traditional computer, but now it's difficult for you, there's different software that will speak to you or enlarge the text on the screen. So if you're able to know how to use that, you can use that at work as well. Because, of course, computers and cell phones and everything is the way the world works, it seems now. So that way, you're able to do that in your work. You're able to dial a telephone comfortably, get on the computer, send emails, those kind of things. Be able, in terms of orientation and mobility, be able to navigate to work around your office independently and home. I've got a coworker who does exactly that. He leaves his home, be able to get onto the subway, take a few buses up to his office, and he knows exactly, how to be able to do his work, to go to and from. So it's building. That's what it is. It's building bit by bit.
Building those skills.
That's right. Building those skills first, personally and at home, like everybody has to do, and then that can branch out for when you're in the workforce. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, great. Thanks so much, Sophia, for coming here to talk to us today about independent living skills.